Alright, starting off with dioxazine purple. It sounds like a medication. It isn't. It's just a really nice purple ink that adds shading to all of the dark recesses and gives us a purple base coat to go over with what we're going to use for the color on the armor. If you have contrast paint, this is a great time to break it out and use it as your base coat. It's just about the same-ish. The ink is older and contrast paint looks better. So, like I said, I'm old school, so this is what I use. This Old Lich purple is what we're going to be using for the base color of the armor. I'm just going to be going over the parts that I want to have as a regular and leaving the deeper purple ink in all of the recesses for shading. When you lighten purples up, you can add white or you can add some pinks and magentas, and that's what we're going for here. And I don't know if this is doing it right. It works, but I think further down the line I would rather have gone with more of a lilac style for my high highlights instead of the warm colors that I'm going to end up using, like this. Crimson Gore, which is one of my favorite colors, but I use it for highlighting here, and I shouldn't have. I should have gone with a light purple on the edges. It still looks nice, but in the end, The Sanguine base by itself is a weak red. It needs a lot to go ahead and lay down evenly, and it just won't. It ends up being streaky and it's a mess. So I end up using it along with Mephiston red. And as far as Mephiston red goes, it by itself is also really weak. But hey, put the two together, it works. Back to that Crimson Gore. Now this time it is the right time to use it. Bringing up the higher areas of the cloak. Is that a tabard? Well, whatever. Point is that the Mephiston and the Sanguine base look really good as the deeper colors, and now we can just go over the higher areas to add a little bit of flow to those cloth items, and away we go. Once again, using a light bleached bone and the Cote d'Arms Ghost Gray to create that fuzzy lined interior that we have for the cloak. What I've done is I've mixed together those two colors to brighten things up, and then I will go ahead with just the Ghost Gray at the very end to give it the highest sheen. Moving on, time for some trim. Good old-fashioned pig iron, which is a gunmetal gray from P3 Paints. This is a really neat detail. She has a cybernetic arm, and if you end up just kind of blowing through and painting some of the models really quick instead of looking at just one, you might end up missing it. Yeah, I know. Magic wash. It seems to be like an old fallback, but these days when everybody is using Nuln Oil and other different kinds of shading mediums, I don't feel bad about using this stuff at all because it works so well. Time to bring out some shine on the metal with a lighter color of steel. And flesh wash for the start of her face. And yes, I did make a giant boo-boo, and she's got a wine mark there from when I overhit on the purple armor. That's okay. These are acrylics, we can cover it up. But you do get to see some face detail, including the eye patch that she's got. When I paint faces, I try to use a couple different subtle tones in them. These will be tones of yellows and tones of pinks and reds, because underneath everybody's skin, no matter what particular ethnicity they are, you're going to have that, unless they're like undead, something along those lines. If they're a living model, they're going to have those subtle yellows, they're going to have those subtle pinks and reds that just give life to the model as compared to a single shade. Yeah, this one has a definite yellow to it. And the neat part about using some of these acrylics along with the washes is I know that I'm going to be screwing up on a face. It's just the nature of the beast. I can always go back in with a really small brush and some flesh wash to push a detail back out that I accidentally hit with a bit too thick of a paint. Yeah, I thin my paints, yes, I thin everything out on the brush beforehand, but it doesn't mean that mistakes aren't made. Told you. I'm lying. I'm just working on some hair. Not really. I wanted to go ahead and get some of the details in that I hit a bit too hard with my paint. But the wash on the hair also helps because it'll go deep in for what I'm trying to do with it, which is just a light brunette color on her hair. When you see a paint color that you like, pay no attention to its name. Yes, it says bronze flesh, but what it really is it's a light tan. And if I want to use a light tan, then it doesn't have to be just used on skin tones. I use these colors on hair all the time for their real effect. This is where a really tiny brush comes in handy, because now you can pick out that eye patch on her and add a little bit more personality. So you see that with a combination of eye patch and with cybernetic arm, she has been on the field before. I've been going through and painting every single one of these sisters' bolt guns white. These sisters revere the bolt gun and view it as a holy item, so adding in what is just socially seen as a color of purity helps to sell that they just cherish this weapon. When you take the time to pick out all the little details on the model, it just helps show more of the personality for each individual piece. Alright, I'm in a bit of a hurry and we've got to base this thing quick. So let me show you a really old school secret, and that is how to get the base done really fast. So first, just take your model and then just put all the colors that you want to put on the base directly in a bowl along with the model. Normally you could paint these all individually, but like I said, you gotta go quick. You need to have a little bit of glue because along with those colors you're going to be putting in some flock. Just take some flock and sprinkle it into the bowl along with the colors and the model. Yeah, just like that. That's perfect. A little bit of static grass because that is going to end up going on top of all the different brown colors. Don't worry, static grass knows exactly what to do. Sprinkle in just a little bit, you know, quarter teaspoon, kind of like if it's parsley. Now, in order to do this, you have to incorporate everything. So just give it a quick whisk all together to make sure that the paint, the glue, the flock, and the static grass all are put together with the model. Okay, now for time to go really fast, you just take everything and pop it into the microwave for a few seconds. And if you've done everything right, then your instant base comes right on out looking exactly like it did if you would have taken 20 or 30 minutes to paint it up.